This is Robert Sinn in Vancouver, Canada, May 2024 at the Metals Investor Forum. And I'm with Greg of AEMC. Greg, it's great to have you here. Your company has been on a bit of a roller coaster the last year. Following it has been very interesting. Some major highs, some lows, currently a bit of a low. How is it being a CEO that's managing a company through this, roller coaster ride of a sector?
Well, to be honest, this is where the CEO really earns his or her money. It's hard to explain to shareholders that may have bought the stock at 50 cents why it's only 15 cents now, especially in light of the excellent technical success that we had through the year. It seems that there's always an awful lot at play. You said in your introductory talk yesterday how you understood chess very well, but that junior mining is way beyond the complexity of a chess game, or in my view, even a three-dimensional chess game. There's so many different factors that can come in and make life difficult for you. But I would say that volatility can be a great thing for investors as long as you're convinced of the thesis and the people behind the company. When some force has taken the share price low, buy it up because it's on sale. Be the contrarian.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is a really great contrarian, opportunity right now. I mean, 15 cents a share, I believe, is about a 13 million market cap in Canada. It's about 10 million American dollars. That's basically, it's borderline shell valuation right now, right? And you've drilled out an inferred resource of about $50 billion of, in situ value, essentially, right? No, obviously, it needs to be proved up a bit further. It needs to be upgraded, with more drilling in the future. Right now, you have a financing open for about $3 million to fund the summer program, there in Alaska. Can you tell us about that and what your plans are this summer?
Sure. No, well, really, three major outcomes should result from the work we do this summer. The first is that I want to test those drill targets that we've developed that seem to indicate the potential for high-grade massive sulfide. We've got massive sulfide occurrences right at surface. We've done the geophysics that tells us, well, it looks like that massive sulfide continues to depth. So we've got to drill holes into that because it could be a complete game changer for the company's fortunes. But we need to extend the Eureka deposit that we've discovered, where we have this huge resource, but we know there's a higher grade core zone that will be important for the economics, and we'll want to extend that out to the southeast. But finally, the recovery rates of the metals is important information. So we'll do metallurgical studies to assure everybody that, yes, we can get good recoveries from the deposit that we've discovered.
So tell me more about the Canwell target, because that's a really high-grade target, and that's sort of a potential game changer for the company. So how many holes are you going to target there this summer? How deep is the target, and why is this such a high-priority target for you?
Well, massive sulfide nickel deposits are very rare, difficult to find, especially at scale. The last major world sort of globally significant nickel discovery was Voisey's Bay. That's 30 years ago. Geologists have been hunting for deposits like that.
Every time there's a high-grade hit of massive sulfides, everybody's like, oh, it could be the next Voisey's Bay, but it never is.
Well, the reality is you can find high-grade nickel, but most of them turn out to be small deposits. Right. It's so rare that you get a huge one. But if you do, I think Diamond Field stock went from well under $1 to $130.
Wasn't it? It was $4 billion in the 90s.
That's what's
so you can do it. Like the inflation adjust of that is probably like 20 billion right now.
So there's a chance that there is massive sulfides at our Canwell block, and we're going to drill several holes on geophysical targets to see if that's true. But it's one great thing about nickel sulfide. It responds very well to geophysical instruments. It's an electromagnetic conductor, and it also is magnetic. If you put a magnet on pentlandite, nickel sulfide, it'll stick. So So if you run a magnetometer over the surface and you've got a strong response, and you've got a strong electromagnetic response, and you've got nickel sulfide dribbling down the hillside on surface, well, that's a really good spot to target a drill hole.
That does seem like a very high priority, very intriguing target, and I look forward to that this summer. Tell us more about the higher grade starter pit in the core deposit. How big could that be? And how many holes are you going to put in that this summer?
Yeah, so how big could it be? For now, the entire deposit, as we've drilled it, is over 4 kilometers in length. It's 300 meters thick. It's a great, big, thick, sort of uniformly mineralized slab of rock. 300 meters thick, but the central 100 meters is higher grade, about 30% higher grade. So it looks like it extends off to the southeast. We have to trace it in that direction because ultimately, if we can find enough of that higher grade material, that could be the ore body on its own. And we would have a higher grade resource that has a better chance of being an economic ore body. And certainly if it's the first portion that's mined, that can result in more rapid payback on these large bulk tonnage mining operations. Rapid payback of the capitals is critically important to the overall economics of the mining project.
So when you say it's higher grade, about 30% higher, are we talking about 0.32%, 0.33%?
Yes.
Okay. And how far down is that core, the high grade starter pit?
Yeah, no, the core comes right to surface, just like the whole deposit. It's just like a layer cake with a slightly lower grade on the outer shells, both sides, but right in the middle, this higher grade core. Then we get drill intersections up to 0.45% nickel equivalent. So, but on average, yeah, it could increase the overall grade of our resource up into the 0.33, 0.35 range, which, that's pretty darn good grade for a bulk tonnage deposit.
And I guess my final question is, I guess some of the knocks on the company and the project are the potential high capex costs of building a mine of this size in Alaska, sort of in the middle of nowhere. Can you tell us about that? What conversations have you had with the federal government about any kind of grants or funding? What's the conversation around finding more metals in the U.S. and extracting them here onshore?
Mm-hmm. Well, first, to be clear, it is in the center of Alaska, but it's the deposit's quite accessible. I mean, there's paved highways that lead us right to the project site, so it's not out in the middle of nowhere. But nevertheless, we anticipate that because it's Alaska, that our capital costs and ongoing mining costs would be higher than, for example, a place like Timmins, Ontario, where Canada Nickel has discovered a very similar deposit. That's just the nature of where we live. Mm-hmm. But to follow on the rest of your question, we have a federal government who in the United States is putting up money to help develop mining and processing capabilities of companies to produce the raw metals that we need for a more electrified society. And so I would say as a U.S. taxpayer, I'm not that excited about our government handing out grants, but I've applied for our company and will certainly take the grant if it comes. And these are, it's serious money in the tens of millions.
Talon Metals received over $100 million, and there would be a very comparable company, a little bit further, advanced, but very comparable. And they received over $100 million so far. So what do you need to do to get that kind of money?
Well, you have to make the application, show your case, and get people within government that can help get it over the line. We found, I believe, the right people, and we've applied, and we're working it through the system. And I really think that we should be successful because we check all those boxes for critical and strategic
Yeah,
metals.
you definitely do.
In the United States, it's a secure supply of these metals for the country's future. So I think we've got a great chance of getting one of these enormous grants. And of course, that would be game changing.
Greg, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.